Hi, I'm Tom from Advocate Motorsport. Is your RX7 getting you down? Mine certainly is. Hello again, I'm Tom from Advocate Motorsport and Racing Cult, and it's been 4 months since our last update. I didn't realise it had been that long, but we have actually done some work. As you can see, most of the car has been wrapped. We still have some bits to do. The top half of the front bumper still has to go matte black, and the back bumper hasn't been touched yet, and then there's bits of livery and things to go on. It is starting to look like how I'd imagined it in my head. We have made some changes. This is a different bonnet. We got rid of the vent over there, and then we've got our central venting, which is actually off a Volkswagen, I think. But it doesn't matter. It was the right kind of shape and style. We've still got to fix the back half of it down. But overall, it's really starting to look how I had imagined, and it's strange to say this because I've owned like 5 RX7s, and I love RX7s. I also hate them sometimes because they're just, I'm sure if you're an RX7 owner, you understand the pain. But this is the first time that I've built an RX7 for myself that I like it the more I look at it, which might sound really silly, but normally if you're a bit mentally sporadic like I am, you'll design something or you'll make something, and then within a day you'll have convinced yourself that you could have done it better, or you may have liked it different. Yeah, it's a strange feeling to say that I am so happy with how this looks. There's still a lot to do, but it's really starting to come together. So in the last video, I did say I wasn't sure on the side skirt design, the extensions, and I have actually changed it. So these are laser cut from 2mm aluminium. They're still quite light, and I'm so much happier with this design. It's less invasive into the side profile. It extends the width of the car nicely from the splitter, which we'll get onto. And I think it really fits with the finish of the car. We've also 3D printed these louvers for under the front fender or front wing, depending on where you're from. This is another design that I just kind of managed to get right first time, I feel. I think it closes off the bottom half of this wing really nicely, because this is a feed style front wing and it normally has a part under here, but it didn't really gel well with my choice of side skirts. I think it really works well with the other 3D printed parts of the bodywork. So here, this is version 1, this is a mock-up. The other side has the actual finished design on. So these are the wing vents to extract some positive air pressure out of the wings. Again, this was one that I got right, maybe second try. We just enlarged these openings on the other side and printed them from carbon fibre, because I did a test. This is printed from PLA and painted, and we left it out in the sun just to see what effect it would have, and it did actually start to curl the edges slightly. So that means we're going to have to commit to printing everything in carbon polyamide. But yeah, everything seems to work together really nicely. I'm really happy with it, and I'm also really coming around to the Aero disc. Now the rest of the bodywork is on and in place. I need to add some design to here, and I've got a bit of a mock-up of the livery which we can show you as well. I feel like this really works well on the front of the car, and it all brings it round together to the front. So I suppose we should have a closer look at this enormous front splitter. So, splitter. It's what we would call God enormous. Now this is version 1 of the splitter. I do have version 2 currently being cut over the road, which is slightly smaller. So this is like the extreme version where we want to throw some extra aero on, but I am going to want to use this car on the road. So I'm going to have something that's a little bit more tame. The front, it will be the same, and we're also designing some lip extensions for the front. So that'll be 3D printed, and it's a bit of a protector for because it is phenolic plywood. It's not going to last forever, but at the same time it's cheap and it's easy to replicate. And now the other subject we need to talk about is the lack of pop-ups. Pop-ups. Got to keep the pop-ups. Now, there was a gentleman in the comments of the last video who said that I really made his day by saying I was keeping the pop-ups, but I've got a little confession. I'm not having pop-ups. The reason behind that is I am running out of space to create a good air inlet for the turbo. So we're going to go to some sleek headlights. I'll be working with Concept 7. They're a UK-based company, and they actually made some of this kit as well. They do a sleek headlight conversion, and we want to work with them to make something a little bit more custom, as well as help them with their current supply chain. So that's something we can come back to, but unfortunately the pop-ups are going. So let's pull this front bumper off. We can have a closer look at how the splitter is currently mounted and have a good look at the new cooling package. So this is the splitter behind the bumper. At the moment we've got the main legs in place. They still need more welding. I need another mount added here to add some strength. We're going to have to tie the front of it into the rest of the frame and still add some support out to these corners, because at the moment they are flopping around without a care in the world. We also have some diffusers designed for this area, and we're actually going to open this out a little bit. So there's still some changes to be made. We still need to add more support to this front frame, because although it's holding everything in place, it's not really structural enough yet for us to tow the vehicle from if we need to get recovered off track or anything like that. So there's still a lot of development to do, but the cooling package is in. So in the last video, we showed you a 3D render of how we designed this. Andy Frost at Ice Fab has manufactured it all to our design, and we've got it mounted. And it is everything I wanted it to be. It is great. It just about fits. We had to change the bottom mount slightly because for some reason I completely forgot that an anti-roll bar needed to be present. But we've made it work, and it's actually probably worked out a little bit better, which is nice. And we've got the electric water pump and the majority of the coolant hoses in place, because we needed to make sure that that cleared the alternator mount, which is now actually in metal instead of 3D printed like it was in the last one. Everything fits, it fits great. Really happy with how that came out. There's still some more coolant hoses to add for the little race heater, the expansion tank, and the link between the front and the back of the engine, but that's really simple stuff. Although it looks like there's a lot of space in here, we still have to add oil cooler, gearbox cooler, there's all the pipe work, and we also need to be able to create an enclosed duct from the back of this cooling package straight out of the bonnet. We can't do that until everything is in, because we need to know what we've got to mold it around, because there isn't a lot of room here for pipe work. There's just a lot of things to consider, and sometimes it's easy to get ahead of yourself when designing these things and just not taking something into account that you should have done that ends up landing you in a mess. Everything is going in the right direction. The large portion of the money is spent, so now it's just tying up loose ends. So speaking of making things fit, we have the turbo, also known as the Wuhan Whirly Boy, the Nagasaki noisemaker, the Jackie Chan exhaust fan. There's many more, I've forgotten them. But this is a BorgWarner 363 SXE with a 1.00 AR. Now, people who know about turbos are probably going to say this is quite small. And we did go on the conservative side. the small side, because one of the concerns we have with our setup is output shaft speed on the gearbox. The 8HP is not going to like that high of an output shaft speed. So the way we've thought about this is we want to make as much power as early as possible as we can, if that makes sense. So I don't want to build this engine and setup so that we are making maximum horsepower around 9,000 RPM. It needs to be closer to 7. So this turbo is going to make boost really early, and it's going to make a lot of it. The only concern is if we are going to run into back pressure issues, we may have to look into increasing the AAR side on the turbine housing. But it's all part of the learning process. We'll be able to max this turbo out, see where we are, and then see if we need to make changes there. Even still, if we can get this to 500 horsepower, it's going to be ridiculous anyway. To be honest, that's going to be a nice number where a lot of the rest of the stock driveline will still be happy. So we can make a reliable and fast setup there, and then look at throwing more turbo at it later down the line. But the problem is we've still got to fit this guy in. Although again, it looks like there's a lot of space in there, there is still a lot of stuff to go in. We're still going with the wastegate on turbine housing, so we'll modify this turbine housing. Just so that means we don't have any turbo control issues. But we'll be making our own manifold, which will be in the next video, and we'll be 3D scanning the bay, showing you how we decide where we're going to put our turbo in relation to everything else. And that's going to be a fun part of the video. So welcome to the interior again. There's been some changes in here. The door cards are fitted, and we've covered them in the same material as the dashboard. I am really happy with this. It looks nice. Everything kind of flows well. I really like the way it looks in contrast to the rest of the roll cage. Again, there's still seats to add. We're going to be going with some Cobra seats. We're a reseller for Cobra and love their seats. So we've still got to sort those. But to be honest, with all the wiring and stuff to still be done, it doesn't make sense to have them just sat around waiting. This is the screen for the mirrors. So we're running a Raspberry Pi on here, and we'll have 2 cameras either side. I think we discussed this in the last video. This is working. There is a small half-a-second latency issue which we've got to overcome, and I've got to design and 3D print the housings for the cameras on the mirrors. I'm going to probably end up going through a few different revisions on those, and we've got a Haltech ECU dash in here for mock-up as well. But the other main addition is this OBP pedal box. So because we're going 8HP automatic gearbox, I only need accelerator and a brake. So we did run into a small issue where I put a seat in here, I put the pedal box on the floor, and it would have worked if I'd have chopped my shins off, basically. They were so far forward, but we didn't really have any other option. So what we had to do was, conveniently, Mazda left a double skin in this footwell. So we just chopped a nice big hole. Now this is kind of footwell crash protection. So if you have your front wheel gets rammed backward in towards a footwell, that metal is designed to protect your feet. So we're having to sacrifice a little bit of that to make the pedal box work. Now, I've already designed the pedestal for the pedals to fit on, and what we're going to do is add some extra structure inside the footwell just to try and recreate it a little bit more, put a bit of that safety back in. But the OBP pedal box is, I mean, we just love their stuff. The quality is excellent. I've got the bias bar for the front and rear, and their compact master cylinders as well means that we can get away with putting something like this in such a tight space. I'm really looking forward to getting this installed. We've got to do all the brake lines. We make all those in-house anyway, so we can do a really, really nice tidy install. We've got to figure out where we're going to put the reservoirs, but that should be quite straightforward. But to be honest, once that is done, there's a little bit of tidying up to do in here of some of the areas of carpet, and we've got to finish the footwells nice, and there's still a bit of OEM wiring left in there, but there isn't really a lot more to do in here apart from just finishing touches, of which we've done some nice work in the boot. So let's have a look at that next. Welcome to the boot. So last time the cell was in place. I don't remember if we had the filling point sorted or not, but we have cut the hole out of the Lexan, so when the boot closes, you have access to the filling point, which is all sorted. We've got our fuel vent coming out of the same place as well, so there's no fumes venting into the cabin. There's still some adjustment to the filler tubes at the moment. It's slightly angling up, which is not going to work, but I just need to take a little bit of length out of that. But that is pretty much all of the interior hose work. There's just the feed and the return. We've got the Radium fuel filter in place, which is all on dry brake fittings. So all we would have to do is twist that, and then we can remove and inspect or clean the fuel filter without getting any fuel inside the cabin. And it's nice because it kind of puts it on display as well as it being functional. And we've got our ethanol content sensor and the radium bypass adapter as well. So what that does is it takes any potential restriction out of the return line. You could actually use it in the feed line as well, but we've just thrown it in the return. And the biggest change in here is all of the carpet. So like we explained in the last video, we wanted this to feel, you know, like a Porsche GT3, something like that, where you have that race capable, track capable vehicle, but it still retains that soft touch. And I'm really happy with it. It looks really nice and clean, and it looks purposeful, and it helps as well because it highlights a lot of the features of the car. So it's good for us to display the car and some of the work that's been done, and it just really tidies up that interior, because this is just left painted, over time you throw things in there and it starts to scuff, and it doesn't always stay looking nice. So there's still some little bits of touch up to do to some of the carpet areas. I need to close off these back corners, both sides, even they're still insulated from the wheel well anyway. And I've left a nice little space here where we'll either put the water injection tank, or it's just a nice little pocket where I can put my 2-stroke oil, something simple like that. But so far, really happy with how the boots come together. We still need to bond the rear Lexan in and add some black vinyl to the edges to hide where it mates to the tailgate. We've also got the ducktail spoiler on. It's just softly held in place at the moment while we make a decision on what we want to do with the tail lights. And then the only other thing to discuss at the back is the diffuser. So I've started designing the diffuser. We'll be designing it all in CAD, and at first I'll have it all laser cut from 2mm aluminium and chassis mounted, and this will help us figure out how the hell we're going to get the exhaust system in there around the fuel tank without just cooking it to death, because what we really don't want to do is induce too much fuel heat into the fuel cell. So all those laser cut parts are on the way, and we'll be able to go through that in the next video, in video 3. But for now, that's pretty much all the changes. So in the next video, we'll be fitting the gearbox and making the gearbox mount, fitting the diffuser, and figuring out how we're going to do the exhaust system, because we really want this car to be really as quiet as possible. So what we might do is make the rear exhaust system and just leave the exhaust ready for us to make the rest, and then we can possibly look into mocking up the flat floor, finish off the front splitter, finish off the final areas of the wrap, and then there's a load of engine bay fabrication for us to get to, so that might be in video 4. And at some point all of our Haltech goodies are going to turn up. So we've got so many Haltech products to go on this car. We're a reseller for Haltech, and the main reason why is because we love their stuff. We install it on customers' cars all the time, and I'm really excited to use possibly some of their products that I've not used yet. It's going to be a really exciting next few videos. So please like, comment on stuff that you like or you don't like, or if you've got ideas or things that we haven't thought about, because comments actually really help our algorithm when we're trying to grow this YouTube channel. And subscribe as well. Tell your mates, tell your nan. And that's it. Yeah, go to our website, buy some stuff, because like the more stuff you buy, the bigger the business grows, and then I can build my car, and then you can watch it, and it's like we're all helping each other. Isn't that great? Lovely. Yeah, so do all that, and I'll see you in 4 months.